All right, a judge has gone ahead and dismissed the manslaughter charge in the Daniel Perry trial after the jury was hopelessly deadlocked on the issue, going back and forth on it for the better part of the afternoon. Ultimately, the judge dropping it. But, of course, it's not over. There is one remaining, and that is criminally negligent behavior on the part of Penny during that whole incident. That, of course, is in the eye of the beholder, and 12 jurors who clearly couldn't agree on the more serious manslaughter charge. Anyone's guess how they will rule when they come back on this lesser charge.
Racism is still alive and kicking in America. There's no other way to view this. Everyone has looked at the case, and those among you who say that Daniel Penny is innocent have racism and bias in your heart. If you look at the facts of this case, then you understand that Daniel Penny is guilty. But today, white supremacy got another victory. Today, the KKK, the Klansmen, the evil in America got another victory. They got that top charge dismissed. America shall continue to America and shall continue to place second-class status on Black people.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, can we talk about this Daniel Penny case for just a second? Because things are getting out of control with these district attorneys in these big cities who want to press charges against folks for simply defending themselves, and people that are caught on a tube, stuck in a tube, running down the tracks, can't get out, doors shut. Well, I think it is your civic duty not only to protect yourself and your loved ones that might be sitting next to you, but also to lend a hand to everybody else on that train if there is an attack of some sort. And this was certainly an attack in the case of Daniel Penny. Well, this brother jumps on his train and he says, according to the witnesses, these aren't my words, these are witness statements right after the incident. They were interviewed at the subway station and said, the man hopped on the train. He said, I'm hungry. I'm ready to go to jail. Somebody gonna die today. I don't care if they send me back to Rikers. It's going down. That's pretty much what he said. Now, put yourself in the shoes of someone sitting on that train just trying to get where you're going, minding your own business. You were already in the train car before he hopped on. So you didn't jump into a situation. No, you were sitting there minding your own business. The situation jumped in your face. And when I assessed this, I said, Lord, this is why I stay out of cities. This is why I don't go to New York, because the laws are such that if you defend yourself, you may find yourself being prosecuted just for defending your own life or the life of your loved ones, or just some neighbor who happened to be sharing a seat with you on a train. Well, here we go, y'all. This Negro jumps on the train, talking loud, talking crazy, getting in folks' face. And the white man jumps up and strangles this dude. He puts him in a chokehold, locks him up. Dude is kicking and flailing like a fish out of water. The man is restraining him, holding him tight so he can't hurt nobody. People surround him and say, okay, all right, we got him, we good. All right, let him go. No, he's still moving, he's still flapping, he's still flinching. He ain't good yet. He holds on to him a little longer. Well, train finally stops. Police get on the train. They enter the car. The man still has a pulse, y'all. He on the floor. He knocked out, he unconscious, but he's still breathing. He still has a pulse. And you know what the police officer said? They said, we could have gave him CPR when he lost his pulse, but he had this stuff around his mouth, this crust, this substance. And we didn't want to do CPR because we didn't have no protection, and we didn't know this dude could have had AIDS or hepatitis or anything. You say, well, it's your job to protect and serve, Mr. Officer. And the officer said, well, I might not have no job tomorrow because I ain't putting my lips on that. Well, the police recognized it was a crazy situation, and they're trained. These are trained officers, so what do you expect of a regular, everyday citizen? Sitting there minding his own business, and some crazy Negro with stuff around his mouth hop on the train talking about somebody in this train gonna die today. Well, leave it to the blackity blacks to make it a racial issue, and it's so unfortunate that it has gone down this road. But I tell you, as a black man myself, if I'm sitting on a train, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care how you identify. If you hop on a train car I'm sitting in and you say somebody in this train is going to die, well, my response to you is it ain't going to be me. Forgive me for matching your energy, bruh. But it ain't going to be me. And we just gonna have to work that out between us. If that means I gotta put you in a chokehold, then that's what it is. If that means I gotta do something else, then so be it. But myself and my loved ones, we take all threats seriously, as you should too. I suggest you do. Get beyond the race war and the race battles. Listen to this dude talking about the KKK. Man, do you wake up every day afraid of the KKK, scared to walk out your house because you think the KKK is going to do something to you? Boy, I suggest you all, under the sound of my voice, detach yourself from these race baiters, from these blackity blacks who want you to be mad every day and look at any situation that is white and black and say, oh, that correlation is causation. Because the white man ended up choking out the black man, it must be racism. No, it was some other dark-skinned people on that train. It was some other blackity blacks on that train. And you know what? He didn't choke them out.
Between stops is only a couple minutes. So the whole interaction lasted less than 5 minutes. Some people say I was trying to choke him to death, which is also not true. I was trying to restrain him. You can see in the video, there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he's breathing. I'm trying to restrain him from him being able to carry out the threats. And then some people say that this is about race, which is absolutely ridiculous. I didn't see a black man threatening passengers. I saw a man threatening passengers. A lot of whom were people of color. A man who helped restrain Mr. Neely was a person of color. And then a few days after the incident, I read in the papers that a woman of color came out and called me a hero. I don't believe that I'm a hero, but she was one of those people that I was trying to protect. We were all scared. Mr. Neely was yelling in these passengers' faces, and they looked terrified. The reason why there was no video at the start of the altercation was because people were too afraid getting away from him, and the videos didn't start until they saw that situation was under control. I knew I had to act, and I acted in a way that would protect the other passengers, protect myself, and protect Mr. Neely. I used this hole to restrain him, and I did this by leaving my hand on top of his head to control his body. You can see in the video, there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he was still breathing. And I'm calibrating my grip based on the force that he's exerting. And I was trying to keep him on the ground until the police came. I was praying that the police would come and take this situation over. I didn't want to be put in that situation, but I couldn't just sit still and let him carry out these threats.
So I'm going to give you an example of something that I did with a recent case of mine, and this has never been done in my office. I had a murder case where the defendant did not intentionally kill the victim. He went into an ATM on the Upper West Side and tried to rob an individual. Unfortunately, it was an older individual. He was 86. And in the course of the robbery, he fell to the ground. And as a result, he died. This is, under the law, a felony murder, which is akin to intentional murder. However, when I first got the case, I learned, I took the time to learn about the defendant And it was a strong case. So it wasn't about a whodunit. I knew immediately who did it. I could prove it. I could take it to trial that day and win it. But it wasn't about that. It was that the more I learned about the defendant and his life and the circumstances, the kinds of things that Jarrell was talking about, that one should take into account the trauma of that individual, I really felt incredibly sorry for him that he had gotten to that point in his life where he felt like there was no other choice but to commit this robbery.
Michelle is telling me that when the prosecutor read that note, she looked down and she grinned. It was not a grin of happiness. It was a grin of, I cannot believe I'm reading this. I just can't believe it. Well, what she couldn't believe is that the jury is deadlocked on count one. That is the more serious charge, manslaughter, which faces where Daniel Penny would face a term of up to 15 years in prison. As a result of them not being able to reach a unanimous verdict on the first charge, they are not allowed to move on to the second charge. So at this point, they are deadlocked.
We're following breaking news in New York. The judge in the subway chokehold case has dismissed the second-degree manslaughter charge against Daniel Penny. The jury was allowed to leave for the day after saying twice it was deadlocked over that count. So jurors will return Monday to deliberate on the criminally negligent homicide charge against Penny. The prosecutors say Jordan Neely died after Penny put him in a chokehold on the train in 2023. He claims he was protecting himself and other subway riders and pleaded not guilty to all charges. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson is back with us now to discuss this update. Jessica, what is the reasoning behind the judge's decision?
Well, this is what the prosecution asked for. They said it's clear that the jury, after asking them to do this twice, cannot come to a decision. And so the prosecution is saying we want to proceed with that lesser included charge, the criminally negligent homicide charge. For people watching at home wondering what's the difference is essentially manslaughter requires a higher level of knowledge, a higher type of state of mind, whereas negligence requires something less, requires something closer to there was an accident, but you can still find somebody criminally culpable. So in this case, what it means is that the prosecution has said, we don't want a full mistrial, which is what the defense wants. We want to proceed and ask the jury, what about criminal negligence, that lower included charge?
Can Penny ever be retried on the manslaughter charge?
I think at this point that depends on exactly what the prosecution said to the judge when they said we want to dismiss this case. I think there's a difference between can they, which I believe the answer, if they decided to dismiss it, it depends on how they dismissed it, but probably not, versus will they? And I think the answer to that is they likely would not. Again, based on their willingness to move forward with the criminal negligence. I want to be clear that I think the promise here by the prosecution of we're willing to drop the manslaughter if, judge, you say we can proceed to the criminal negligence case indicates that they're not going to refile on manslaughter.
Well, y'all, thank goodness the judge in this case has thrown out the most serious charge of manslaughter against Daniel Penny. But I wish, as I reviewed the information that was coming out in the news on this case, I wish the judge would have polled the jury. They were deadlocked on the manslaughter issue, but he didn't throw out all the charges. He left a negligence charge there, and he wants them to come back on tomorrow, on Monday, and continue to deliberate on that lesser charge. Why? Because you are in a New York City where these left-wing judges and left-wing district attorneys want to get a scalp, want to get a conviction by any means necessary, especially in a case like this that is racially divisive. Oh, they want that win for the media. They're going to market that. But the truth of the matter is, for anyone with a reasonable mind who can look at this case and see it for what it is, you don't see racial animus here. It's not a white and black issue. It's a right and left issue that they have created by the policies that they have implemented in New York City. Well, what is your option? The best option, my suggestion to you, get out of these blue cities. There is a change coming forth in America, especially with this new administration about to take over. Y'all about to see some things change. I suggest you get out of these cities. They're going to be problematic. They have been problematic up to this point. That's why this man who was simply defending his own life and the lives of those on that train finds himself facing a jury. Heard somebody say once, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Well, maybe that was Daniel Penny's mentality. Look, I'm going to take my chances. I'm not going to die on my knees. I'm not going to die. Maybe this dude is serious about killing me right now. Am I supposed to sit here on this train and let him? Would you? Would you give up your life? Because to do otherwise would be racist on your part. So you just gonna let the crazy black Negro kill everybody? Nah, we ain't doing that, bro. Blackity black or not. We ain't uniting on foolishness. Foolishness ain't got no color. This dude was acting in a demonic fashion. Matter of fact, they put a specialist on the stand, an expert. They said Daniel Penny didn't kill this dude. His chokehold may have contributed, but this dude had all kind of drugs in his system. Aside from that, he was a schizophrenic. Had a rap sheet a mile long. This dude had been arrested so many times. He was a known crazy person to the people who run that city. How come he wasn't locked up? What is he doing free? Y'all better bring them crazy houses back. Y'all better bring those insane asylums back and start locking these people up and get them off the streets. Got a lot of work to do in this country, and I hope you realize what is going on with examples like this. It ain't about race. And it breaks my heart to see so many folks in the community coming out advocating for certain things. And I just need you to understand, y'all. People profit from our division in this country. Yes, our past ain't been smooth. Our history ain't been smooth. It's had its share of bumps. It's had its share of ups and downs. It hasn't been smooth. But it is smoother now than it has ever been. And there are people who profit from reminding you daily on how rough it was before. They remind you to the point where you are distracted from the opportunities that lie in front of you. Yeah, they in the black community talking about racism and KKK and this and that. But when do you ever hear them talking about education? When do you ever hear them talking about entrepreneurship? When do you ever hear them talking about taking responsibility for all them babies you made? When do you hear them talking about taking responsibility for your own criminality and staying out of prison and staying free so that you can be a positive contributor to society? I don't hear it as much as I hear KKK, racism, bias. I need you to be aware of it so that you can flee from it and free yourself from it. I need you to break free so that you can be the best person you can be. Y'all let me know what you think about this. I'd love to know your thoughts. But if you can't find justification for manslaughter in this circumstance, I don't think you can find justification for negligence, because the same thing that would have motivated him for the manslaughter charge is the same thing that would motivate him to put him in that lock under a negligent circumstance. It's the same motive. So the same jury, looking at the same facts of the case that couldn't come to a conclusion on manslaughter, shouldn't be able to come to a conclusion on negligence, in my opinion. Let me know what you think, y'all. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.